Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of season 6 here at Sunderland. We qualified for Europe last season. We will be playing in the Europa League this year. Now, the board would very much like us to reach the final of the Europa League this year, which is slightly frustrating considering this is our first ever season in Europe, but it is what it is. We shall try and do what they want me to do. They also want me to finish in the top 5 again this year in the Premier League. I'd like to think with the improvements we're going to make to the starting 11, a top 4 spot is certainly on the cards. Again, round of 16 of the FA Cup. I'd love to win the FA Cup this year if possible. Continuing on with no financial objectives, brand exposure-wise, for some reason it's carried over the short-term objective from last year into this year, so we've already done that apparently. Great. And the season ticket thing still isn't updating either, so apparently we're not gaining any more season tickets than in previous years, despite our continued success in the save. So, what can I do? With regards to youth objectives, sign one youth player to the senior team in the same season they were scouted and then play them in 5 games. We're at the stage now where we're not really looking for more youth talent. We have a number of youth players already, and they all have great potential. We also only have a matter of 2, maybe 3 maximum seasons left in this save. So we're not necessarily looking to sign more youth talent because they won't have the time to progress to the point of being actually involved in the first team anyway. So we know what the board want from us, basically top 5 and do okay in the cup, but I'm aiming higher than that. I asked in the season roundup video yesterday what you guys wanted me to do with regards to the certain couple of individuals in the team that we were unsure about. The general consensus was to keep hold of Moise Kean for the time being and give him another shot at striker in this formation with George Harrison sat behind him, but we were to sell Che Adams, so I will do that. Also, the general consensus was to sell Ed Murphy and replace him as a first team winger. So Lyndon Gooch will keep, but he won't be in the starting lineup. He will be a backup winger. We will sign a first team higher rated winger. Whether they'll play on the right or left is unsure at present. Jack Clark can play on either side, so I would be open to moving Jack Clark to the right hand side, signing a new left mid. To be fair, you can see Jack Clark is a right mid, we're playing him on the left hand side. Doesn't matter really what they are by default, they can play on either wing. So I'm just looking for a new winger. I have, as per your recommendation and my suggestion, confirmation of that, moved Declan Rice to centre back, and we will be looking for a new central midfielder. I have Tomori and Bennett on the bench currently. I'm looking for a new centre mid. That new centre mid will then replace Yearwood or McAllister in the starting lineup. They'll then drop to the bench, and Bennett will drop out of that position. I'll do that now. Pino can go there, and then I'll put the new centre mid into the starting lineup, and Pino will be dropped from the bench as Yearwood or McAllister will replace him in that position in the squad. Jamal Lowe, still unsure what to do about him, but certainly we're looking for a striker. Certainly we're looking for a first team winger, and certainly we're looking for a first team central midfielder as well. So please, in the comments section, let me know who you would like me to sign. I've added a number of names to my shortlist already, thanks to the suggestions in the previous episode. I will yet further add to this as per your suggestions in today's episode. You can see we're looking at players of high quality already. Atebo still needs another scout. We're seeing how much he's grown, because obviously we know he was pretty decent anyway. McKennie's been added back to the list. You can see here the names. I'm not going to go through them all individually. We'll do that tomorrow once we've added some more to it. But if you see a name that you were going to suggest on this list already, obviously you know you don't have to put that then into the comments section. And I'm looking at a couple of other strikers as well. Some wingers here too. So players like Anthony Martial, he's 90 rated, but he's not first team choice at Manchester United, which is why I'd perhaps lean towards signing someone like that. Even though 90 rated perhaps at this stage is a little bit out of our price range, or even out of our realistic range of transfer, being a Europa League side, not a Champions League side. But if we only sign someone in January when we're top of the league, then you could perhaps understand why we might sign someone like that. Our starting budget is £120 million. Holy shit. Last season was our biggest budget ever at 44 million, I believe. And we're starting this one with 120. Turns out qualifying for Europe drastically improves your finances. Who knew? So we do have a number of players on the transfer list currently. And I can't remember if I actually added Ed Murphy onto this. I don't think I did. I think I wanted to do it in the episode to show you that I was actually doing it. Ed Murphy. Oh no, he's already there. Fair enough. So I'll show you who I have on the transfer list. And then we'll advance through the pre-season tournament. We'll try and get those player sales done. There you go. Che Adams, Jimmy Dunn, Barley Mumba, Ed Murphy, Timo Graff, and then Oscar Thomas is on the loan list. So that's going to be minimal. That's going to be a big deal. That's sizable enough. 8.5 for Jimmy Dunn and 17 for Che Adams. All on the transfer list. There's about £8 million available to be won from the pre-season tournament as well. So we shall, as we always do in episode number 1, work our way through. And then you guys will know at the end of the episode exactly how much money I have to spend. So you can obviously offer me your suggestions based on that. A number of the players that you might well have been going to suggest will already be on my shortlist as you saw me scroll through there. So you don't need to suggest anyone that's already on the list because, well, they're already on the list. As we mentioned in yesterday's season roundup though, I'm quite happy with my wing backs, quite happy with my goalkeeper situation, and we're just looking to add now a rotation striker because you guys would like me to give Moise Kean a little bit more time at the starting spot. Jimmy Dunn's had an offer come in from here. I am open to another centre-back, although we do have some more youth centre-backs that can grow. So I'm not, perhaps, to be fair, 10.4, I'm quite happy to just accept that straight off the bat. I'm not necessarily looking to sign a new centre-back. I did have one on the shortlist, but I'm not necessarily looking to sign someone. We have Rice, Foyth, Tamori, and Liam Bennett. I also have another couple of youngsters that we're continuing to train in the youth section here. We have Castell, Mathieu Castell, who's 66 rated, physically already very good, just needs to improve technically. We also have Adrien Valle, who is physically already decent and will grow technically and hopefully just of his own accord as well as being trained. And then obviously we have a couple of other players as well that we're looking to continue to improve. Billy Hughes is the best of the bunch at present at 70 rated, although he's not that good physically, so probably not going to be too heavily involved. A couple of players are still wanting to be moved on in this window that aren't on the transfer list, and I'm not wanting to move those players on, so they'll have to remain frustrated for the time being. But I'm not sure how we'll do in this pre-season tournament because obviously last year we were only good enough for 5th in the Premier League, and this pre-season tournament has a number of very, very capable sides in it, including obviously Napoli. Diogo Jota actually, as I mentioned, him has just scored. He's on my shortlist as a potential option for a wide player or a striker. Moise Kean though has scored 2 here and Harrison has scored 2 as well in what is going to be a strong win against Napoli. 5 goals for us here at home against Napoli. I say at home. It's a pre-season tournament overseas, but still we were drawn in the home dressing room, I guess. That's a very, very good result. We also have Benfica and Lazio in our side of the pre-season tournament. They're all teams that should either be in the, you would imagine would be either in the Champions League or in the Europa League. Jimmy Dunn has gone. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I've had a scout report come back on now. He's 82 rated, although 86 acceleration, 96 sprint speed, 87 strength. He looks pretty decent. It's only 74 finishing, really, that's kind of keeping his overall rating down slightly lower. Unfortunately, Graff's talks have broken down. So Calvert-Lewin is an option with regards to striker. We could then train his finishing and probably just his finishing, adding perhaps to one of the other training regimes we've got for our other players. You will have to excuse me, I've got a bit of a sore throat coming on, so I'm trying to keep well lubricated with regards my my throat, so hopefully it doesn't progress yet further. The last thing you need when your job is to commentate is a sore throat and to not be able to commentate. So I'm going to be drinking. I drink a lot of water anyway, but I'm going to be drinking excessive amounts. Thankfully, Drew, you would equalised for us there against Lazio, so that should see us through. And yeah, we just need to avoid defeat against Benfica, and we will be through. It was Morris that was the last man that was trained there. I've still got, as you can see here, a number of training regimes set up for a number of young players that we're continuing to train. Some are in the first team squad already because I got the "I'm going to leave, youth player wants out" message, so I had no choice but to call them up. Interesting that we're getting offers for McAllister. He barely played last year because of breaking his leg and was out for 5 months, but is now finding himself back in the starting lineup. When we sign a new central midfielder, it is going to be a big decision as to whether we go with the higher rated McAllister or the 83 rated McAllister, or the 80 rated player that we know that is absolutely effective at Premier League level and does phenomenally well for us, who's just scored for us again here, Drew Yearwood, to play alongside the new midfielder. It's going to be a tough decision, very tough decision. We're actually doing really well here in this pre-season tournament. I did not expect us to score 5 against Benfica and 5 in the opening game against Napoli as well. Apparently, either this new switch of formation to 4-4-1-1 from 4-4-2 has been a phenomenal change that's drastically changed the way the side plays, or those teams we were playing in the group stages weren't putting out their strongest 11s. Again, Bali Mumba is a player that has potential, but just isn't fulfilling that. Barely ever played for me. We're just going to move him on and maximise the money because we can use that elsewhere. We have an interest being shown in a couple of players that are currently on my shortlist. I'm not really wanting to isolate anyone as a go-to target yet, because I want to make sure that I get the full list of options from you guys before I pick out my favourites and go for someone. Also, we want to maximise the amount of money that we're going to have to spend, because we still have Che Adams to sell, we still have Ed Murphy to sell, so hopefully we'll be able to do that in the next 3 in-game weeks as we progress towards the end of the month of July. If we can get it done sooner rather than later, it means that hopefully, as we see teams show interest in other players that are on my shortlist, we can minimise the amount of people that will move before we get the opportunity to look at them. It was Neumann, that was the last one. I always reload it just so I can remind myself of the last one I did. And it's Pino that's being trained next. Unfortunately not going up a rating yet, but he's getting there. He has decent potential actually, Pino. Could get to the mid-80s, perhaps late 80s, although it is still very early on in his career. Valencia in the final of the tournament. A loan offer for Oscar Thomas. No interest yet for Ed Murphy or for Che Adams, which is surprising actually, considering I would have thought people would have been all over Ed Murphy, and Che Adams is capable for a side at a lower level than us. For a mid-table team, he'd probably be about what they'd be looking for. For us, he just wasn't quite as clinical as we wanted from a player that basically we wanted to step in and do the job when someone else wasn't. And evidently, Valencia was a step too far for us in this particular pre-season tournament. Viejo and Paco Alcacer giving them a 2-0 lead and subsequently a 2-0 victory. But a final appearance in the pre-season tournament and big results against teams that strong, certainly quite happy with that. Player injured, George Harrison's out for 5 weeks. That's not what we needed to start the season with, to be completely honest. Still have scouts just finishing their previous 9-month rotation, but unless someone really stands out, I'm not going to be signing anyone from these lists unless they're valued close to £1 million already and are like 15 years of age. So we're really not keen on signing any more youth players. I just have so many already that it's just not necessary. We're trying to raise these money. An offer for Che Adams at last. An offer for Max Lowe. If that was Jamal Lowe, I'd consider selling. An offer for Max Lowe that I shall reject. It's only just over valuation as well, and obviously we're not looking to sell him. Borussia Mönchengladbach have offered me 20 million for Che Adams. I will negotiate to try and get it slightly higher, but I'm not going to be too forceful here. I'll ask for 25 because we're almost all the way through the month of July now, and we haven't yet had many bids. This is the first one for Che Adams, and they don't want to pay 25. So I think I'm just going to have to accept that when it comes to Che Adams, we're not going to be able to fully maximise that deal. I will check contracts actually. And an offer for Murphy from Everton of 45.9. He's valued at 33.5. I shall negotiate just as high as 50. We already have a massive budget. I'll try. I don't want to just end up asking for so much that people just walk away and we'll lose the opportunity to potentially sell these people. Okay, they're willing to negotiate there, although they haven't really gone up far. How about 56 million pounds rather than 46 million pounds? 45.9 with the 3% sell. Come on now. Come on now, Mr. Silva. Give me 53 million pounds and he is yours. I know it's 20 million over. No, they're not willing to. Okay, so we are going to have to narrow our window of what we might think we might be able to get for those two players, but it's good that we have finally started to get some bids in for them. Have a look at the financial situation. Nobody's got a year or less left, so we're not necessarily unable to ask for high numbers because they've got a shorter contract left. So why they weren't willing to go that high is a purely they don't think they're worth that much, rather than their contract is running out, how dare you ask for so much money type of scenario. With two Castells, as you can see, the striker Castell and the centre-back Castell. The centre-back Castell does have his own training regime as well, so don't worry about him not getting signed or him not growing too much. Timo Graf, another offer for him. We shall again accept that and hope that he leaves. Atebo is 81 rated. Not necessarily overall rating wise what we were looking for, but individual stat wise, looks like he's going to be amazing. He's like Drew Yearwood, not massively high rated, but still extremely effective, you would imagine, and did score a good goal against us earlier on in the save for Wolves last year, after being really solid against us for Stoke in a previous season earlier to that. Getting towards the end of July here, an offer for McAllister again for Paris Saint-Germain, which I shall reject. Again, we don't want to sell him. I would like to get some offers in for Che Adams and Ed Murphy slightly lower if we can. I was slightly too aggressive in asking for what I did earlier on. Barley Mumba is gone. Graf's transfer talks have broken down again. Monthly report, a little bit of growth for Billy Hughes. It's good news. These other players are starting to grow now as well, of their own accord rather than just with training. Do I want to advance much further? I could use, obviously, Ed Murphy and players like that and Che Adams in part of a deal to sign someone else. So I don't necessarily have to sell them, but I would be able to maximise their value by selling them for cash rather than using them as part of another deal. I'll end it here for now, because I don't, like I said, I don't want to advance so far that someone we might want to sign signs for someone else. But our current transfer budget is about £150 million. Now, add to that potentially another, say, 70. 50 for Murphy, 20 for Che Adams, or there or thereabouts. So we're going to have upwards of 200 million to spend in this window. I would very much like you guys to let me know who you would like me to spend it on. I'm just going to double check here that there isn't anyone on this list that has already signed for someone else in the meantime, like Weston McKennie. He's just signed for Liverpool, so unfortunately we shall have to remove him from the shortlist. Is there anyone else that's signed for a new club? Valverde, we saw earlier on that he was in talks with City. I shall remove him. And Diogo Jota has gone to Atleti. So it's just Jota and Valverde and Weston McKennie as well. Other than that, everyone else on this shortlist, you see their names, is available for transfer. So we will potentially be signing someone off this list. If not, someone else that you guys will suggest in today's episode that will be added to the list. But for now, that's the end of episode 1 of season 6 here. And fingers crossed, we can really make a drive further forward today. Do drop the video a like if you enjoy. Subscribe to the channel too to make sure you don't miss out on any further content. We will be finding out, hopefully, in the next couple of days, some information about FIFA 20 career mode. I will be putting a video live about that, perhaps multiple videos live about that. So do keep your eyes peeled for extra bonus videos over the next few days. Follow me on Twitter, and I shall let you know exactly what's going on. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.